Hi everybody. What I'm going to do is run through the homework questions from last night, just to make sure you got them correct. I'm just going to go one step at a time, and remember there's a quiz on this stuff tomorrow, so you want to make sure you totally understand what's going on. So this is a 3x3 system, and you guys at this point are very aware you take two of them at a time. So the first one I'm going to go with here is A plus 5B minus C equals negative 20. And then we'll take the one below it. 4A minus 5B plus 4C equals 19. Now, our objective is to eliminate one of the variables, and I'm hoping it's screaming right at you. Get rid of the B's. Get rid of the B's. So we come over. B's are gone. Adding the rest of them together, I get 5A, these guys are gone, plus 3C equals negative 1. So that's our first equation that we created. Next step, take the bottom two equations and compare them. So now we have 4A minus 5B plus 4C equals 19. Then we got negative A minus 5B minus 5C equals 2. All right, it's very important that you eliminate the same variable we eliminated over here. So you don't have a choice in this matter. We have to get rid of the B's. And luckily, it should be pretty easy to get rid of. I'm hoping you notice that if you take either the top or the bottom equation, this time I'll do it the bottom, multiply it by negative 1, we'll have something that we can work with. So now this stuff becomes 4A minus 5B plus 4C equals 19. This now becomes positive A plus 5B plus 5C equals negative 2. Putting them together now, we eliminate our B's, which is what the goal was, and we end up with 5A plus 9C equals 17. Now at this point I want you to stop and look at my work. It is very clear what I did. It's nice and neat. I understand that you multiplied this by negative 1 to create a new equation. The better the work you have, the easier it is for me to go back and find mistakes if you make them, and the more partial credit I give. So please make your work neat. Next step, put the two new red equations together. So we're going to work with them now. Ooh, my blue pen's rolling away. We've got 5A plus 3C equals negative 1. I'm going to pull in the other guy. 5A plus 9C equals 17. All right, now the most obvious variable to get rid of would be the A's. But this time they're both 5A's, so again, just like we did over here, I'm going to multiply one of the equations by a negative 1. Just to be fair, since I did the bottom one here, why don't I do the top one here? So this becomes negative 5A minus 3C equals positive 1. 5A plus 9C equals 17. All right, putting these guys together, these eliminate. I end up with 6C equals 18. And that's a nice little piece to work with because 18 divided by 6 equals 3. And I'm going to put a circle around that. We found one of our missing letters. Now using this, go back to either one of the red equations from the lines before. Let's just use this one. And what I'm going to do now is where I see the letter C, plug in 3. So I end up with 5A plus 27 equals 17. Subtract over the 27. I end up with 5A equals negative 10. So A is negative 2. I found two of the three pieces. And now go all the way back to one of the original equations. The top guy looks pretty good. I'll use the red pen for that. So we don't know what, well, we do know what A is. A is negative 2. So A is negative 2 plus 5B minus 3 for C equals negative 20. So we end up with 5B minus 5 equals negative 20. Adding over the 5, looks like I have 5B equals negative 15. So it appears that B equals negative 3. So these are my three answers, A, B, and C. All right, so that was the 3x3 system. Remember, you can check this in your graphing calculator if you wanted to at the end. See if I can zoom in so you can see my screen a little closer. Whoa. All right, I go to second matrix. I got to, it was on. I'm an idiot. Turn it back on. Second matrix. You're going to go over to edit, enter. You're typing in 3 by 3. And then you're putting in all the coefficients. I had already entered these. So it's 1, 5, -1, 4, -5, 4. So you type in all the coefficients that correspond to each of these letters. Then I'm going to go back to matrix, go over to edit, go down to B, and this would be a 3 by 1, so 3 by 1, and I'm putting in all of the answers that we want. All right, so quit out of that. Then you're going to go second matrix. We want to take A, but the reciprocal of A, and multiply it to B. And there's the 3 answers we should have got. A should have been -2, B should have been -3, and C should have been 3, which is what we got. So yay, there we go. All right, so that's our 3 by 3 algebraic system. Now let's move further down the page and take a look at solving graphically. And look at this monstrosity we have here. Now I'm hoping with the looks of this you can tell that both because x squared and y is squared that this is just an equation of a circle. But what we have to do is create our little families out of this thing. So I'm going to take this top equation and I'm going to make my x family, x squared plus 6x, and they live in their house, which happens to be a parentheses, plus, please don't forget there's a plus sign here, so that's where you're putting a plus. Create your y family, y squared minus 6y, equals, and you need to subtract the 18 over to the other side. So 9 minus 18 is going to be -9. And this is where we do completing the square. Here we go. Half of 6 is 3. 3 squared is 9. So we're going to add a 9 in there. Plus, we're going to do the same situation here with the y's. Half of 6 is 3. 3 squared is 9, so I'm throwing a 9 in there. Equals. Now, remember, we have to keep our equations balanced, so whatever we added new, you have to add new to the other side. This now creates the equation x plus 3 squared plus y minus 3 squared equals, adding all those up, 9. And there's my equation of a circle. So it started off like this crazy mess, and we brought it into circle equation format. So now we can tell that the center of our circle is going to be -3, 3, and the radius is the square root of 9, which is 3. So we took care of this guy. And now take a look at the second equation. Negative x plus y equals -3 minus 3 equals 0. It's a line. Nothing is being squared. So we need to get the y isolated. So I'm going to do -x. Let's see if I can write it correctly. I'm definitely not saying it right. So we're going to add x over to the other side and add 3 over to the other side. So we end up with y equals x plus 3. So my slope is going to be 1 over 1, and my y-intercept is 3. And now all I have to do is graph this thing. So over here, I'm going to create an xy axis. Right? 1, 2, 3. I'm just going to put a few 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And we're going to graph this guy. So let's graph our circle first. -3 up 3. I put a little C for center. And I'm going to go 3 in all directions. I don't have a compass here at home, so I'm just going to freehand this thing. It's going to be really bad. Use a compass on a quiz. There you go. And you should label at least one equation. I'm actually going to label the line because it's shorter. And now, let's do our line. So our y-intercept is 3. And the slope is 1, up 1, over 1, up 1, over 1, up 1, over 1, or down 1, back 1. And I'm hoping it's obvious what our intersection points are. So I'm going to label this guy negative x plus y minus 3 equals 0. And we have two intersection points here and here. So the answers to this question are the points 0, 3, and negative 3, 0. I'm going to put a box around them so it's obvious those are my solutions. So that's the front of the homework. Now let's take a look at the back. All right. Now, it's important you pay attention to the directions. The last question said solve graphically, which was fine. If you had not done it graphically, you don't get any points. You have to do it exactly the way we tell you. This one I'm saying solve algebraically, which means if you graph it, you don't even get any partial credits, an automatic 0. So make sure you do what we ask you to do. Algebraically. All right, this is a circle because of the two squares. This is going to be a linear equation. Nothing is squared, and we can get it into y equals mx plus b format. To do this, we need to isolate one of these variables, and I'm going to go for y. So I'm going to subtract the 2x over. So I end up with negative 2x plus 10. And then I'm going to divide them all by 2 to isolate the y. And we end up with that linear equation. Now that I know what y equals, I can plug it in right there. So x minus 3 squared plus, where y is, I'm going to plug in negative x plus 5 plus 2 squared equals 16. All right, now let's clean this up. What's 5 plus 2? 7. So this just becomes x minus 3 squared plus, this becomes negative x plus 7 squared equals 16. Now, the squares mean we have to write this parenthesis twice. So this becomes x minus 3 plus, do this guy twice, negative x plus 7 equals 16. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to put a box around these guys and a box around these guys, and I'm going to do all that work separately. So start off with, let's do this distributing. X times x, x squared. Distribute out the x to the negative 3. Now we're distributing the negative 3. So this becomes all that. Bring down the plus sign in the middle. And now I have to distribute out all of this stuff. And then we're going to have the equals 16 on the end. Negative x times negative x. A negative times a negative is positive x squared. Negative x times a 7 is negative 7x. This times this makes negative 7x. And 7 times 7 is 49. At this point, we combine like terms. X squared plus x squared is 2x squared. Negative 3 and negative 3 make negative 6. Plus a negative 7 makes negative 13. And another negative 7 makes negative 20x. And 9 plus 49 is 58 equals 16. All right, guys. We've got ourselves a quadratic. There's 1 squared, so we got to set it equal to 0. So I'm going to subtract the 16 over. So 2x squared minus 20x. 58 minus 16. Let's see if I can keep from messing that up. Looks like it's 42. Now, this is a pretty big equation, but I'm hoping you notice, what do all three pieces have in common? A 2. So to make this a lot easier, you can divide every single piece of this equation by 2, and it becomes x squared minus 10x plus 21 equals 0, which factors into x minus 7, x minus 3, and we end up with x equals 7, x equals 3. And some of you are probably like, I'm totally exhausted, but we're not done. Because remember, we have to solve for both x and y, and that's when we go back to this guy. All right? We need to know what y is. Well, I've got a couple of x's, so let's plug 7 up in here. Y equals negative 7, because that's one of the answers, plus 5. So negative 7 plus 5 makes negative 2. So that means we have an answer, 7, -2. It's one of the answers to the question. Now we're going to do it again, but plug 3 in up there. Y equals -3 plus 5. So -3 plus 5 makes +2. So this x creates the point 3, 2. Please notice I'm writing my answers as coordinate points. Notice parentheses. You need parentheses or we take off points. All right. No parentheses, no points. That's how it goes. All right, last question. This time, instead of doing it algebraically, we can do this one graphically. All right, now let's take at the top equation here. Ooh, 1 squared only. That means this is a parabolic equation. So, I like to use the axis of symmetry to find the turning point. So I'm going to write this over here so you can see my work a little bit. Y equals x squared minus 6x plus 9. And I'm going to do the axis of symmetry to pinpoint the center of my chart. So I'm going to do x equals -b over 2a, which is -6 over 2 times 1. 6 over 2 equals 3. Now the reason why I do that is because we need a chart to graph a parabola. And the axis of symmetry will give me the turnaround, the center of the chart. Should this have been a huge equation, the turnaround point could have been something like 20 and you would have sat there trying to figure it out for a while. The axis of symmetry will get me right to the answer quick. So there's my middle piece. This is my axis of symmetry. And that's the chart I'm going to look for. And I'm going to go to my graphing calculator. So let's turn this on. I'm going to go to y equals, I got a bad glare on there, let's see if I can move it. Go to y equals, clear out what's in there, and type in the equation. X squared minus 6x plus 9. Okay, then I'm going to go to my table. And I want the portion of the table that starts at 0 and goes to 6, and there we are, right there. So I'm going to copy those answers over. So 0 corresponds with 9, 4, 1, 0, 1, 4, 9. And if you notice, the numbers repeat on either side. All right, let's graph that. So I'm going to make some space over here. Oops. And I have to go up to 9, so I'm going to kind of bottom heavy this thing. 1, 2. I like to put at least 1, 2, 3. Right, 1 on each axis. So 0, 9, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1, 4, 2, 1, 3, 0, 4, 1, 5, 4, 6, and 9. All right, and I'm going to connect those points. Whoa. Put arrows and label. Y equals x squared minus 6x. Please make sure if you're putting more than one picture on a graph, you have to label at least one of them. All right, next piece. Got to do this guy. Notice the lack of anything squared. This is another linear equation. So I'll probably put the work here. We have 12x plus 4y equals 36. I'm going to subtract the 12x over. So it's negative 12x plus 36. Divide everything by 4. So we got y equals negative 3x plus 9. So my slope is negative 3 over 1. And my y-intercept equals 9 there. And we're going to go down 3. 1, 2, 3 over 1. Down 3 over 1. Down 3 over 1. Oh, look at that. 1, 2, 3 over 1. And I'm going to try to very neatly, because I don't have a ruler here, to go straight as I can. You guys use rulers. And this is 12x plus 4y equals 36. And we have 2 intersection points. One right there and one right there. So one of the answers is this point, which is 0, 9. Notice I wrote it as a point with parentheses. And this point here, which is 3, 0. And that's how you should have done last night's homework. This is also a great representation of what your quiz will look like. Very, very similar to all of this. So this is what you want to study tonight. Hey, you can always watch my video again.